Hi guys, it's Chantale from Lepage Cafe. Hello, hope you guys are doing well. It's warming up here. I'm feeling great. No more of that crazy cold. So I hope you guys are doing awesome as well. So here's the journal that we've been working on, right? So now let's bind these papers. So at this point, on this video, I think, oh my gosh, is it fifth one? One, two, I think we're on the fifth one. Yeah. Okay, anyways, so we've got our cover, right? These are my signatures. Now, depending on your journal, you may not have this many signatures. Okay, these are the signatures. That's what I was talking about in the last video. If you haven't watched the first part of the series, I will link the other ones below. I will also have them in my at the end of the video, so you can go ahead and go check it out. So we are binding. Now let's talk about how to bind a journal. Now, depending on the size of your journal, you may have 2 signatures or 3 signatures. I have 6. Okay, I'm just going to bind one, but I will show you what I do. Okay, so what you will need something to make a hole, so you can have an awl of some sort, right? A needle. I use a big needle like this. It's a lot easier to go through the holes that way. Let's say you don't have an awl and you're like, how am I supposed to do this then? You can use a sharper needle. Like this one has a sharper end. All these needles I have picked up at the dollar store, or you can go at a sewing place, but if you want. Another thing you can do if you have like a flat needle and you don't have anything to poke your holes with, one thing that I did before I started and bought an actual awl is I used a thumbtack. Okay, you can use that to make your hole because pretty much every household has one of these, I'm sure. So I will show you how to do that. You won't want to have too many pages in your signatures when you do that, okay? I usually generally have, I don't know, about 10 papers, I think, per signatures, give or take. So usually it's not too much more than 10 pages, unless I do only one signature, like one book with only one thing of paper. Then it might be a little bit more, like a traveler's insert, for example. I might have more than a couple pages. So anyways, I will show you what's next, okay? So let's talk your spine, okay? So my spine, make sure I am, okay, my spine is about 3 1/4, give or take, right? Or in centimeters, we are about 8 1/2, give or take, okay? So what I always do, I use inches, so it's up to you if you want to use the centimeters or not. I go about in the middle, so I go all the way to the edge. Now I know for a fact that I don't want any signatures right by that sewing, right? So I want them inside. Now I have 6 signatures, okay? So I will split this area. So I go from the stitching to that stitching, okay? So it's about 3 inches. And then I split that in 6, okay? So, and we are going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I will explain how to do it, so don't panic if you've never done this before. You can do this, okay? So I don't measure that often. I just kind of wing it, and every one of my bundles, like I'll show you in a minute, I place, like, I know what is the top, okay? I usually, from the top, my signatures are a little bit smaller, right? They go inside this stitching, right? I guess you can see. Okay, so they go kind of inside, right? They're a little bit smaller than my cover, so I usually go from stitch to stitch. Now I use my thumbs because they're pretty even, right? And I go about that far So that will be my first stitch, okay? My first hole, right? So that is about what? An inch? Yeah. So about an inch away from that stitch, right? Because you don't want it to be too close to the edge where you can rip your paper, right? When you are binding it. So you don't want it too close. You want at least half an inch to an inch away. I always do an inch away because I usually have different sizes of papers. So the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, you have 3 holes in your signature. So you have 2 at the end and 1 in the middle. That one's the easiest way. There are different ways, of course. You can always Google them if you want. And to see where to start my first signature, I don't really measure, but I want to be away from this. So I kind of go like kind of like this, about there, okay? So what I do is I put my thumb, and which is about here, okay, let's say, and then I check, well, it's, you can count the writing, or you can count, like I just use my thumb, so do about there, and then I go like that. Now you can use your ruler at about an inch and mark it, and about an inch and mark it, okay? So I got an inch and 1/16, I think, or something like that, I think. So let's do an inch so it's not complicated, okay? So we'll do an inch away from here and an inch away from here. Now I do from the outside or the inside. I will show you why. And now you can take your 2 little ticks. Here, let's do not so busy signature. Maybe not this one. Here, we'll use this one because it's going to be easier for you guys to see. So I literally just go kind of like that. It's about like, I don't know, maybe 1/4 of an inch, maybe, if that, away from that stitch, give or take. About that far, because I've got 6 signatures. Now you could go ahead and measure that 3 inches and divide it by 6, which is about, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did you see that? So I would have my first signature at, now I know I want to be a thumb away, so it's about an inch. So my first, so you can make a mark like that if you want. Mine are going to be close. You probably won't see the marks. Then you go from 3, and I know I want it about there, 1, and then I do 2 quarters, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I make sure I got 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Which is about an inch away. You can measure it to make sure it's from the stitching, right? So it's pretty close, right? So that's kind of what I do. And then I do the same thing at the bottom. I mark approximately where an inch is away. Now, if you do 3 signatures, you can split it up in 3. What I would do for that case, I would find my middle and then put it in between the 2 middles. Like, kind of like if you had 3, for example, I would go, what, half of 3 is what, 1.5 inches, and then I would put it in between the 2, so around here and around here, right, give or take. So this line here, I've got 6 signatures, so I put it back in line, and then I do my little marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so I don't know if you can see those. So I got 1 right here. I'm just going to make them a little bit bigger because you probably won't see these anyways. Okay, so there they are. I don't know if you can see, you should be able to see that, hey? Okay, so now I've got my 2 ends. Now to find my middle, I literally, most of the time, I will just literally take my, and go approximately, go like this and approximately, okay, where's the middle? give or take, and that's where I'm going to put it. I don't measure, but because we're here and I want you to have the measurements as well, you can just go, okay, you know you're an inch from that, and you know you're an inch from this, and right. So then I go from that dot to the other dot, which is 6.5. 6.5. So half of that is what, 3.25, right? Yeah. So it would be about here. That's my middle. 3 inches and 25. 3.25. Right? Okay. So that's the middle, which I do exactly the same thing on the bottom. Go like that, and then I go 3.25. I usually look and see how close it is anyways, and usually it's pretty darn close. And then I have my signature, and I quite literally go and mark it like that. Now, before you start making holes in your signature, hold them together, okay? Or attach them. I'll show you just a second. I'm just gonna mark this one real quick, and I'll show you what I mean there. Let's confuse you a little bit more, right? Hopefully this makes all the sense in the world. If you have any questions, please, please, please don't hesitate to send me a message or whatever, and I will try to answer it the best I can. Okay, so now I have measured, right? And you could probably see them. I mean, they're with pen. You can use markers if you want a black marker. Now I use this guy. Another thing you can do, oops, sorry, I hit the camera, is paper clips. So what I do, any kind of clip that will hold your, I find my middle, okay? And then what I do is I look at it, make sure I got it on the right side, because I mean, if you've got it upside down, it probably won't really work. Another thing that you can do before you bind it is, if you want to use a sewing machine, I would stitch these, because it's a little trickier once they're bound. So I just thought of that now, of course, right? Or for this one, we can just glue it down, okay, to make your pockets like. So I check over everything, make sure I have it the right way, the writing's on the right side. This guy, I think I want it more in the middle. Make sure everything is where I want it to be. Okay, so now I place it and I push down in, grab it, clip it, or use your paper clip. It's fine. Now you could just leave it like that if you want, or you can, I always put a second one at the bottom, push it down like that with your thumbs, and then grab it, grab your clips. These paper clips, you can also get them just at the dollar store, or you can use paper clips, work just fine too. You can just clip them like that. Okay, so that's that. So I would prep all of my signatures, right? And before I bind them and mark them, okay? So now you're like, well, how in the world am I going to know where to poke them on the inside, right? Well, I fold them down like that, and then you can use your pokey tool and push down, or, well, you don't want to do it on top of your cover, so move your cover. Use an old book, something you don't mind putting holes in. This is an old health book. So you just put it straight and then use your pokey tool. I will do it with a little, whoops, I've got thumbtacks everywhere. Okay, use your thumbtack. I always mix that up. And you put it in where you want it, where your mark is, and you just push all the way through. Okay? Should be able to see it come out the other side. See how it's sticking out? You don't need, like, it could go through quite a bit of paper. Okay? So now you know where it is, right? Then you do the next one. take it out, leave them clipped, find the middle, and then push. Now this will be harder because it's a thumb tack. It's a thumb tack. Okay, so, or if you don't have that, you only have your needle, take your needle, grab it, find it, and then push like that. Okay, so now you got your holes. How cool is that? Now when you are sewing your signatures, I don't need that, you will turn it around, and I usually go a second time with my bigger needle, just so your hole's a tad bit bigger and it's a little bit easier, especially if you're using a thumbtack, because they're going to be a little smaller. Now when I do, so I just push down. Now what I see, you got your 3 holes. Now what I do is I use my machine. Now don't go and buy a big shot just for this, especially if you're brand new. I made holes and made journals for a very long time with just a needle, just my needle that I was sewing with. If I figure if the needle can go through this stack of paper, they can go through my cover. Now some covers, some really thick covers, you may not be able to go through, but usually you can. This is what I'm talking about. This is the We Are Memory Keepers Big Shot. I love this thing because it's got this great big area so that you can make holes. I usually, when I'm binding, I use the smaller one, the 1/8, and it's called a Crocodile 2. And I got this as a gift, so I was very excited to very excited to use it. Now you would flatten out your papers and line it up with the little, see how it, I'm gonna see if I could do it. See how it goes down? There's that little punch right there. It's like having a great big hole punch. I would bring that down, and then you also have a setting at the end here for grommets. This is meant to set a grommet as well. Now grommets are, trying to keep this video pretty simple, but I'll just show you real quick. These little things, and then you squish them down and you can use them for charms or for all kinds of stuff. It can also be some kind of closure. Yeah, so we might get into this later on. I'll show you how it works. But for now, we're talking about binding. What I do is I line this guy up, and then I bring it down real slowly, and then I just punch it. Okay, see, I'll show you on the side. See, oopsies, see how you line it up like that with the little punch, and then you just push through and it'll make a bigger hole than your needle. Now, because I'm keeping this simple and I don't want you guys to go and buy a Crocodile, I will keep it with the needle just to show you that way. Now, different things to bind with. You can use regular thread if you want, but I would do like a thicker one, like an embroidery thread is a good choice, but you have to remember it, like, I mean, when you pull on it, you want it to be sturdy enough that it will not rip. Another one that you could use is this type. It's kind of the same idea, but what I use, just so you know, don't go out and buy some. You do not need waxed linen thread to do this. Now this is what I use because it's got wax on it, and it holds the knot a little bit better. So just thought I'd let you know different options. Okay, now when you sew your signatures in, so what you would do is you would do every one of your signatures. If you have 3, you do all your 3 holes, and then another thing you can do is place them down, like this one would be the last one, right? You always want to sew your signatures in from the back to the front, okay? It just works better. I guess you could go from the front, but you don't want to be stuck in a bunch of, if you go from one end to the other end, then you can, it just works better. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so at this point, you can go through your book and sew in your, see, look, I could have sewed it upside down here. So pay attention, turn it around, put it on the right side. Okay, so because you don't want them to have one page here, one page here, one, like, you know, you want them as straight as possible. So that's why you want to make sure you have them the right side up. Okay, so the next one you would do the same thing. You can line them all up and mark them this way, you know. So you would line them up like that and then mark it. Sorry, you want them to be flat, so they're kind of lined up, and then you mark it. You got one here, and one here. That way when you're binding them, they will all line up, and then you would do the same thing again. So for the purposes of the length of this video, I will just bind a couple with you, so it's not like crazy long. So clip them again, push them down, and then if you guys have any questions, please let me know. If you like this series and you are really enjoying it, please subscribe and turn your little bell on so that you get the notifications for the next one. And please do share with your friends. I would love that. I would love to be able to help somebody else create something as well. Okay, so now I haven't made the holes in the journal or in the spine yet, but we'll do that too. So now I've turn it, my still in frame, and then I make my holes again. So you can use your awl if you have an awl, and you line it up and make sure it's going in the right spot. Yep. And then you find your middle one. The nice thing about an awl is that you can push the bottom, while a needle is a little harder on your hand. And then I just fold it and I do another one through, make sure that my hole is bigger, right? All right, so now you got 2 signatures done. So that's what you would do, right, with all your signatures. Now I'll show you how to bind them, okay? Try to do this slow so you guys can see. We'll do one at a time. Make sure we got it the right way. Needle, thread. Now I will do one at a time. You could like bind them all together in one bundle, but we're just going to do one at a time because we want to make sure it's nice and tight. So I go 1 across for the length of your thread, like 2, okay? At least 2. Now what I do now, it's completely up to you if you want to do this or not. I don't even cut it. I just bind it with the other end until I'm done, and then when I'm all done, I trim that end. Make sure your end is nice and trimmed so you can get it in your needle easily instead of this fluff going on over here. Now the nice thing about these big needles is that it's easy to put your thread in. So you put your thread. That way I waste less, I find, when I don't cut it off. It's going to be in the way, but you need at least 2, okay? So if you want to cut it, just put at least 1 and 2 threads, okay, for a 3 hold. So now I always start from the middle. It's completely up to you where you want to start, but that's where I start. I'm going to use the different needle. This one's quite a bit bigger, just because I usually use the bigger one when I'm making holes with the other punch, but because this one I use the awl or a needle, it's just going to be easier. So I always start with the middle. Now before I start binding, I check again, always double check, triple check, right, that you have it the right way. This one's good, so I'm ready. So I got the middle. Now we haven't put the holes in the middle in this guy yet. Now you can just use your needle and put your hole, or use your awl, and again grab your big book. And because you don't want to make. Now, I don't even use a book anymore. I just push on it. I hold on to it like this, and I find the spot, and I just push. This is how I do it, okay? Now, if you're scared of getting your fingers, just get it and push. It'll go right in your book, and just make sure it's not a book that you love, obviously, but just because it's obvious to me doesn't mean it's going to be obvious to you, right? And then you push, and then you should be able to go, it'll go right through, because it's not, hi Lovey, you want a cookie. Just give me a minute, okay?
Okay.
Go what you show. So now you got your 3 holes. They're ready to go. Hi. You got your needle in your first signature. So you want to check if that's the one you want in the back. And I'm just going to use this one. Put it, make sure your cover is on the right way as well, because you don't want to go put, see how the writing's on this way? I don't want to go and put my signatures in and then realize, oh no, it's upside down. So just be aware of that, okay? You can always take these apart if you need to. That happens. So now I'm going in the back. Now, because I didn't use the big punch, my holes are smaller. So you're gonna have to tug a little bit. It's not really hard. And then you find the next one, which is right here. It should poke out a bit. Find it. And when I put my needle through, I make sure my signature is kind of flat, because it'll follow your hole. Now usually it works well like this, and then I check, it's in the middle. Perfect. Okay, so now what you do is you pull it out a little bit, and then you go across all the way to the top one, okay? And then you go in the back again, and then you pull it through, right? And then you go back to the middle where you started, okay? So this part here, you don't want it to get tangled in the last one, right? If it does, then it does. It's not a big deal. Now see how it's like just really not very tight? We'll tighten that up in a little bit, okay? You can pull it out a bit and get it a little tighter. And then you get this guy in. Let's say you're having problems, it's going in all crooked, or it's getting caught and you can't get it through all of the papers. See, there's the hole. I find keeping it flat helps. Now let's say it's not going through like it did. Maybe I'll purposely do it with the other one so you can kind of understand what I mean. Now when you do this, okay, so there you've got it. I always have it long enough so that if I want to put beads, I can. At this point, your string is long enough, you can cut it. And then you want one string on both sides of this one in the middle, right? So, and then you turn it like that and you tighten it, pull it. You want it to be really tight without ripping your papers out, of course. You want it to be nice and tight, okay? Because otherwise your book is going to fall apart. And then I turn it the other way, grab my strings and tighten. And now I do 2 knots. 1, and then I go the other way, 2. And there you go. You got your first signature sewn in. Da-da-da. How exciting is that? To my newbies that are following, and to the ones that are doing this, that have never done this before, it's pretty exciting, isn't it? Okay, so next one. Now you got the first one. Now it's gonna floppity flop, right? Because I usually push it down a bit and then I clip it up here. Now you don't have to do that. It's just that way it's not in my way. Okay, I'll bring it down. So now you go to the next hole and I just find it and I push right through. Find the next one, push, or grab your book and do it that way. This works as well. Now your next signature, again, your thread. 1, 2 at least, right? Start from the middle again. Now you can cut these strings if you want to, or you can leave them longer and add little beads if you want. I'll show you different ways of finishing up off the ends once we're at that part where we're decorating. So we go up again, down to the bottom, okay? And then see how it's coming out. Make sure your paper's on the right way as well, okay, before you start binding. And then you find your hole. This one went through perfectly, of course, just cause, right? And then you find your top one, find the hole in the and then where's the end of this guy? Bring it back to the middle again. Okay, here he is. Hopefully you guys can see this. I pull it. Okay, and then I lost it there. And then I put it back in here again. Let's see if it's gonna actually go. I want to show you guys. Okay, there you go. So let's say it doesn't even go halfway. I don't know if you can see that in there. It's not all the way through. It's in a different spot, okay? You could take it out, okay? And start again. Follow that string. And sometimes it doesn't want to work again. I put my thumb inside. Oops, I don't know if I hit my hand down there. Try again, and then go through, okay? And there you go. Let's say it gets tangled in this, because sometimes it'll get tangled in the last one. And this guy, just pull them up tight and then pull them apart, okay? It's no problem. Another little tip you can do, let's say you can't get it through and it's getting frustrating, you can, I'll take it out, I'll show you. Let's see, this is your string and it's just not working and you're getting frustrated. Use the end, this end of your needle, and then put this end in first, like that, and follow this thread. Just bring it all, see how it came out? Now you've got your hole, like the eye of the needle, I think that's what it's called. See, on this side. And guess what, guys? You just put your thread in and it's gonna go right through. Now you want to keep it inside, okay? Put your thread in, because these are big needles, so it shouldn't be hard to get your thread back in. Make sure it's in there, and then you just have to pull it through. You don't have to fiddle around with that, and then it's in, right? Now again, your threads, you want them on both sides because you want this to be tight. Excuse me. I still have a cough. And then you tighten it. So up and down this side, turn it around. That's just how I do it. And then 2 knots again. 1 and 2. So now do that with all your signatures. Okay, let's see what time. We're already at 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop it here. So make sure to do this with all your signatures, and then I'll be back to show you what to do. Of course, I'm going to, it's all twisted here. I will be back in a couple days to show you different little tips and tricks on how to decorate. Now at this point, let's say you have all your signatures in and you're like, oh, that's good for me. I'm happy with that. I don't want to decorate it. I just want to use it for writing. You can stop here, definitely, and you can decorate it as you go. You could keep it simple and blank if you want, okay? And just have it like this, and there, well, you would have all your other signatures sewn in, right? So there would be your book. Now, if you want to learn new tips and tricks to how to decorate it, like let's say you want to give it as a gift, or you just want to decorate it before you write in it, stay tuned and I will show you different things, different little tips and tricks that I have learned along the way on how to decorate these signatures. And when you're done, you'll have them all nicely stitched on the side of your spine. So you'll have yourself a nice journal. And then I will show you, let's say you're like, well, I really wanted to stitch though the pockets. Stitch the pockets before and then sew it if you want. Or glue them down, and I'll show you a trick of getting that awesome stitch on the side. And remember these little scraps that I told you, don't throw them out. I will show you how to make a paper ruffle with your sewing machine in the next episode. So if you are interested and you are excited to see all the fun different things that we can do to decorate, stay tuned and I will show you how to add a pocket, okay, how to decorate the sides of your journal, how to make tabs, how to add little fluffies at the top here, all kinds of fun stuff in the next video. So I hope you come and play along with me, and I would love, love, love to see what you're creating with your journals. You can tag me in Facebook or you can tag me on Instagram. All my links are below, and I'm so excited to show you the next step. So it should be coming up probably by Thursday or Friday, okay? So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope you subscribe, you like, and you share the journal, this video series, or any of my videos with your friends and families to see if they will come and craft along with us. Also, make sure to put the little bell on ding so you do not miss any notification when my next videos will be up. So I hope you guys are well, and we will talk to you soon. Bye for now.